We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Yud Daled Amud Aleph Meseches Baba Basra. This is Baba Basra Daf 114a. And the previous Amud Rav Yehuda said that if three people are visiting a sick person and the person is giving instructions for his will, so if they want, they can act as a court, or if they want, they can act as witnesses. And now the Gemara continues that Rav Chisda says this is only true during the day. Aval B'layla, but at night, where you're not allowed to have a judgment, you can't have a court sitting at night. Afilu Shlosha, even if it's three people that are visiting, who in theory they could be a court, they have enough people, but still, since it's night, Kosvin Ve'ein Osen Din, they have to write it down and act as witnesses, and they're not allowed to do a judgment. They cannot act as a court. My time, what's the reason? Dehavalahu Eidim, because at night they're considered like witnesses. V'ein Eid and Nasa Dayan, and a witness is not able to then become a judge in the same case. And the Gemara continues, Amar Le, he said back to him, and this is Rava Bar Chanina responding to Abaya in Yes Hachinami Kuamina. That's what I was saying when I was saying that a nachala cannot happen during the night. What I meant to say was a din nachala. The judgment of inheritances, that's considered to be like a court case, and therefore it has to be during the day and not at night. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Itmar, it was stated the following, Machlokas Amoraim, Kinyan, when it comes to a Kinyan Sudar, and this is referring to a situation of some kind of verbal agreement where they're using a Sudar, they're using a scarf or handkerchief, and they're picking it up to finalize their verbal agreement. And the understanding of the Gemara is that simply picking up the Sudar is not going to make it final. They still do have some amount of time to retract when it comes to these kinds of verbal agreements. And so the Gemara says, Arei Masai Chozer, until how long do they have to retract? At what point do we say that it's considered to be final? Rabba Amar Kolzman Shayoshvin. Rabba says as long as they're still sitting in the same place, they can still retract on this agreement even if they've picked up the Sudar. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says Kolzman Shaoskin Ba'oso Inyan, as long as they're dealing with the same matter, if they're discussing the same issue, so then they're still able to retract. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yosef says, Kivasiti di mistabra, makes sense like me. The Amar Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda said, Shlosha shenichnasu levakar esachol, if three people enter to visit a sick person, this is the case we had before, Ratzu Kosvin, Ratzu Osendin, so it's three people. If they want, they can write down his instructions, or if they want, they can act as a court, and they can issue a judgment. And so the Gemara says, V'isalka daitach, now if you think, Kolzman sheyoshvin, that as long as they're sitting, it's still possible to retract. So what does it mean they can sit and they can issue a ruling here? Leichosh dil mahadarbe, we should be concerned that he can still retract. What does that mean? They can sit as a court and they can finalize what he is saying. But the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Ashi says, Amrisa l'shmaita kamei de Rav Kahana, I said over this halacha before Rav Kahana, and I asked him as follows, Ul Rav Yosef minicha, according to Rav Yosef, is it any better? Because Rav Yosef says the person can still retract while they're discussing the matter. So v'leichosh dil mahadarbe, so in this case also, when the three people are visiting this sick individual, we should be concerned that he'll retract because they're still discussing the matter. Rather, what do you have to say? The Asliko, that obviously they've concluded discussing the matter. That's why they're able to act as a court. And we can, of course, give a similar answer according to Rabbah. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Yud Daled Amud Beis.